Welcome to today the news on Vanguard Live. My name is Damlola Ogunshaki, and this morning I'm starting with Vanguard on the paper review. Vanguard's major headline says, "How we escaped assassination in Benin." That's coming from OBI and OYEGUN. You can see that story on page 7, and there's a photo story here showing Mr. Peter Obi, the 2023 Labour Party LP presidential candidate, Chief John Odigwe Oyegun, national leader of the African Democratic Congress (ADC), chieftain standing by a vehicle with broken glasses after an attack on Obi and other ADC chieftains in Benin City yesterday. Now, on page 5, we have United States Congress recommends measures to end Christian persecution in Nigeria, calls for legal reforms, improved policing, strengthening of criminal justice sector, seeks repeal of Sharia and blasphemy laws, demands programs to allow self-defense for farmers, wants audit report of effectiveness of aid support in Nigeria, seeks Nigeria's divestment from Russian military measures to counter Chinese influence. United States pressure on Sharia can cause tension in Nigeria. That's coming from Christian Association of Nigeria. No policy on religious persecution. Federal government replies United States Congress. You can see that story on page 5 and top left corner of the Vanguard newspaper. Phone tapping charge. DSS can try me over casual remarks on TV. El-Rufai tells courts. 6.2 billion naira damages. You can see that on page 9. On page 8, Tinubu to opposition. Elections not won on social media. President accepted Beto Okon's resignation as Inspector General of Police, appoint Tunji Disu in acting capacity. You can see that on page 9. And lastly, on Vanguard newspaper, CBN cuts interest rate to 26.5%. Away from there, we move to The Guardian. The Guardian major headline says, terrorism. United States escalates pressure on Nigeria as African firms up in Ghana. You can see that on page 6. ADC Accord orders no deregistration phase March 24. News page 30 as that story. Federal government dragged to ECOWAS court over tax law alterations. You can see that on page 5. On news page 29, armed thugs attack Obi, OYEGUN, ADC members in Edo. Dangote refinery to supply 65 million litres of PMS daily. Disu steps in as 23rd Inspector General of Police, reignites tenure controversy, mass exit of senior officers. CBN rules out extending recapitalization deadline, lowers interest rate by 0.5%. You can see that on business page 15. And directly below the banner on business page 6, we have more businesses go digital as .ng sees new 15,216 entries. And that's all on the Guardian newspaper. Away from that, we move to the Punch. The Punch is leading with Tinubu picks Diesel for pre-2027 security boost. DIGs to retire. IGP Egbetokun, son to Villa, resigns over family issues. Diesel era begins as Mba, 19 DIGs, AIGs face retirement. 2027 polls in sight as new Inspector General leads Tinubu's new anti-banditry war. All this can be seen on page 2 of the Punch newspaper. And below on pages 4 and 5, Ogun woman takes own life after broken engagement. 395 million naira for electronics transmission out of INEX 873 billion naira budget. You can see that on page 14. Top banner on page 21. Recapitalization. Banks raise 4 trillion naira ahead of March deadline. You can see that in the Punch newspaper. And lastly, here on page 14, Diri's COS cleared as Bayelsa deputy governor. Away from the Punch, we move to The Nation. The Nation's major headline says, President to team, take our scorecard to grassroots. Renewed Hope ambassadors get matching order to explain government achievement. You can see that on the front page, and it continues on page 2. NMIA Lagos fire. Airlines relocate to temporary terminal. Top banner on pages 4 and 2. Government files new charges against Zekome, the Seni family. ADC Secretariat house attacked in Benin. Federal government, United States House panel report catalyst for more cooperation. And lastly, on the Nation newspaper, we have banks raise 4.05 trillion naira in recapitalization drive, 20 meet requirement, 13 others on course. MPC cut interest rate to 23.5%. And that story can be seen on page 2 of the Nation newspaper. And that's all we have on the front pages of the dailies. Join us after the break as our guest will be analyzing some of the stories with us this morning. Welcome back. If you're just joining me, this is Today the News on Vanguard Live. My name is Damlola Ogunshaki, and joining me to analyze some of the stories on the front pages this morning is Mr. Benro Olajuibe, the Executive Director of Emergency Arrest Alert. Good morning, Mr. Benro.
Good morning. It's a pleasure being with you.
Yes, thank you for joining us. And now let's move to Benin City. Tensions grip Benin City, Edo State, after gunmen stormed the office of the ADC, that's African Democratic Congress, and the residence of former Governor John OYEGUN, narrowly missing the 2023 presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Peter Obi, and other opposition leaders in what they described as failed assassination attempt following a political event. Now, what do you think about this incident? What does it suggest about the current political climate and security tension in those states?
Well, it's really unfortunate that at this time of our nation's life, we continue to see politics being infused with violence, thereby making our election so difficult, making the process so chaotic, so frightening. But then, let us not forget, one thing I have always said is that a leader's language is a leading language. And that is one of the weaknesses of our state, of the police and other security agencies in our state. The governor of Edo State, a few months ago, made a statement categorically targeting Peter Obi that how can a governor come to a national television and state that another Nigerian, for the fact that he's a politician that came to Benin, that is persona non grata, that he should not come to Edo State again, except if he gives him approval to come, and that anything he sees, he should take it like that. I'm quoting verbatim what do they call him? Monday Okwebolo said on national television the last time Obi or the other time Obi visited Edo State. It's really unfortunate. And then do you blame those who have given effect to that language of violence? And look, this is the weaknesses of our state agencies like DSS or SSS, whatever they call it, and the police. The moment anybody in Nigeria utters such statement, it should be called to order, and publicly too. And that will send a very strong message to all Nigerians, other Nigerians who are harboring intention of causing mayhem, committing violence, extreme violence, political and electoral violence, unleashing havoc, causing gravely harm on other persons or people. It is really unfortunate. This is what combined together in varying permutation to call what we describe as state failure. If leaders are expected to be measured in language they use, particularly in public, and more so in a very hostile environment like Nigeria we have now, where everywhere you turn to is chaotic, is fearsome, is intrusion of terror. leaders are expected to be reassuring in getting Nigeria to landscape of peace, not further creating condition and for anarchy. I put the blame squarely on Edo State government, who led the verbal attack, which has now translated to physical attack, albeit violently.
So are you saying the motive behind the attack is is political intimidation and criminal violence?
No, I'm not actually. That is left for investigation, but purely is political. The attack is political. But what I'm saying is that once a leader wants to talk, you don't talk like that to the extent that we can trace this or link this to your utterances as a leader. Those languages should be, at best, which is equally not good enough, should be left to touts, to motor park people that have their own peculiar subculture, that speak the language of frightening language of violence and every other thing, but not to a state governor, not even to a primary school teacher to come out and state that obviously, that whatever somebody see when coming to your state. Who is the governor? When did he come into power? Not up to 3 years. People have governed before him. People have become military head of state, civilian head of state in Nigeria. And we didn't get this type of shenanigan coming out to the extent that you place a ban on somebody from coming to another part of Nigeria. What type of society do you want to build? And that is what is playing out. That's what I'm saying. Remotely or directly, it can be linked. Because I have told you that a leader's language is a leading language. When the leader says it, those who follow him, we want to put effect to it. It doesn't matter whether it is outrightly language of outlaw, whether it is language of violence or language of peace. And that is why we must be concerned about what is going on in Odo State. And the security agencies, particularly the police, the SSS or DSS, whichever name they want to bear, should take this up. What I am suggesting here, DSS, police should be tracking those language. That is their work. They don't need to be told. Whoever says it, even if it's the president, it should be told openly or publicly that language is not good enough for a leader, and it should be cautioned. And that caution will send messages to other Nigerians who are harboring such things, whether it's a political violence or outright violence against any other person or other group of people, political parties, economic groups, social groups, ethnic groups. None should be targeted for execution or for assassination, as we have witnessed in Edo State. It's not good enough. It doesn't give good image to the state called Nigeria, nor to the state, the sub-state, a sub-regional part of Nigeria called Edo State in the Niger Delta area.
Well, local government officials they insist that these violence stem from internal political dispute and not from not a political targeting. So, and you're saying that
why should I listen to those Jejun analysis? That is not a competent analysis. Those who should go on straight away for investigation, the police, the DSS or SS. Why I'm saying that is that those people are political. I've laid the foundation for this, and I can't deviate from that foundation. The foundation is that Edo State Governor of Monday Okrebolo, ab initio, declare Peter Obi, openly and publicly on media. All the media organizations that were there play it out months ago. That is persona non grata to Edo State. Who is he to give such order? Even the president cannot say another Nigerian should not go to another place in Nigeria when it's not anchored by law, when he has not committed crime known to law, just because it's your political opponent. All those shenanigans should stop. And Nigeria has witnessed enough violence. And people have responsibility to ensure that this country is stable, that this country is peaceful, that this country is going along a genuine and formidable democratic trajectory to ensure that the state stays along that part of honor and part of dignity, and stop bringing reproach upon Nigeria and upon our people. So that's what I'm saying. It might not, because when they say in Yoruba, they say the witch cried yesterday and the child died today. Who will not know that the death of the child flew from the cry of the witch yesterday? So that is why, as a leader, you should be measured when you are speaking. You should be your words should be seasoned with flavor of dignity, of honor, of respect for others. Those are the ethos of democracy: tolerance, of peaceful disposition, even to your most critical opponents. And not to begin to, because you want to win election, cause chaos everywhere, speaking language that is intolerable or anywhere in the world, that is not decent, that doesn't dignify your office and your position.
There are questions. People are questioning the speed and coordination of the police response, because according to eyewitnesses, the attackers, they arrived in multiple vehicles, they caused extensive damage, and they fled.
And when they are opening such a place or having that type of gathering, I think there is need for police presence in that type of environment. I don't know why we should be hearing that the attacker has left when the police arrived. All those one are bad at us. Police are expected to be ubiquitous. Anywhere, we are not saying that they can be anywhere. Anywhere where a particular event of concern is being held, particularly political event, economic event that has potential for degeneration into trouble or anarchy. Those are the works of DSS and police to examine and to analyze and register their presence there. And stop telling Nigeria before we arrive, the attackers have left. Is that policing? That is not the ideal policing that Nigeria needs. It's not for this alone. It's for everywhere. We just wish away our work. Here is the only country where we see that a footballer will say that he cannot score goal, and we allow him to stay. Well, it's good measure that President Tinubu has terminated the appointment of IG, because under him, Nigeria has gone really south in terms of doing the work diligently, correctly, and responsibly. So I think it's better he has been shown the way. I hope that this that is coming in now will work out a strategy, understand the contextual issue in Nigeria's security system, and develop a robust strategy to engage them, whether it is that of violent extremism, internal squabbles among political parties, interpolitical crisis, and other crises that are cultural and that have become cultural and traditional in Nigeria system of governance. And it should begin to tackle them without giving excuses. There is no room for excuse when event like this has happened. It's correct for the police to go in and begin to analyze and begin to look at the election. And you don't look at issues like this peripherally. And that is why I've laid the foundation of what the governor of the state earlier stated or said concerning this issue. It might not even be him, but the language he laid has given him out. And this, because this is a political crisis. And God forbid, if they have killed people yesterday, you will know what the country will be facing today again. Money of this, for all these avoidable crises, avoidable anarchy, we should avoid them. Nigeria has a lot in the spot now, dealing with existential issues in the northwestern part of the country. In just day before yesterday, 10 persons were killed in Zamfara. Over 50 were killed in Gombe. You know a lot of people that are killed in Kebbi, rather, not Gombe. In Kebbi, 39 persons were killed. How long are we going to continue to live in these states and with this happenstance that is not happenstance in quote? Things that we are beginning to adjust to as if it's normal. We are living with extreme abnormality, and we are converting them to what is normal. This is not life. This is not how a country should be organized. I don't know. In Somalia was described by Trump the other day that is not a country. It's a group of people looking together, killing one another. That is how Trump described Somalia. What is the difference now? If we allow all people to be killed, to be maimed, to be destroyed, and internally we have a political system that is equally crystallizing anarchy. So how do we see that? I don't think we should begin to have a country that is depressing, that is unlivable, that is frightening to stay in, to engage with politics in. What is in politics? Even if President Obasanjo had 8 years, is he still there now? Yar'Adua died in place. Jonathan came and left. Buhari came and left. Won't Tinubu leave? He will leave. And I don't think he should equally, I'm not thinking that he's the one that is asking people that do it at all costs for me and every other thing. No Nigeria is better than any other Nigerian. Whether you are a governor, were you born a governor? No governor is better than a cart pusher in the market. They should get that and let it sink into their head that the fundamental human right is not made for the rich, it's not made for the powerful, but equally for alone, but equally for the church-changed Nigeria, equally for the hoi polloi, equally for the one that Frank Fanon described as the wretched of the heart.
All right, Mr. Gbero, you talked about the resignation of Egbetoko and the new appointment of the new police boss, Disu. Is this boss going to boost the security in Nigeria? What do you think about it?
Well, look, I don't know when you want to analyze Nigeria. Somebody said, and a lot of people have been saying it, that if they explain Nigeria to you and you understand, that means that you don't know anything. I don't know what to explain again about Nigeria. But one thing I will advise the president is that this idea, because you can even see what the crisis, the appointment of Disu have generated, people following ethnic lines and every other thing. Look, what is causing this structural crisis is that we don't want to follow law. Once you are elected as the president, you are the president of all. Some people will say that the president has right to somebody who will be loyal to him. When the president is the commander-in-chief. Every member of the armed forces and the police should be loyal to the president. And if that is correct, what happened is that it doesn't matter. You don't need to be cherry picking who will become IG. And this crisis has been created by the extension of tenure of this outgone Inspector General. It was unnecessary. And that is one thing I've challenged in Nigeria. When you elongate people's tenure, you are depriving others of getting to that position of IG, getting to a position of directors in the ministry and everything. The law and the rules of the ministry is that once you spend 60 years, once you are 60 years by age, or you have spent 35 years in service, you are supposed to retire, except for those in the academics, the lecturer who are 70, or the judge who are judges that are 72. Other civil servants are expected to comply with that law. And I think that should be the lowest common factor for Nigeria definition of playing field, equal level playing field in terms of appointment. Those things used to cause disruption. And one evil of that system is that it deprives the young one. For example, a director, those who have been in civil service, you extend their tenure by 5 years and everything, or 10 years. You are depriving the young one who have no job. And that should not be the business of a country like Nigeria, where youth employment is rampant. And it's creating crisis within the system, whether the system is that of the police, of the judges, of anybody, or even in the civil service. It will create anarchy and hinder career progression. So the president should take note of that. If nobody has advised him before, if it is possible, he should reverse the law. Once you hit retirement age, retire and let the next person get there. And look, people have calculated that with the appointment of the issue, 29 officers in the category of DIG and other is senior in DC, or what do they call it? His rank now, AIG, that those people will have to go. If they have to go, it's a loss to the country that is facing with security crisis. So let us do things properly. We don't need to people to. It's not a matter of if somebody is not competent, remove him from there before he gets to that level of appointment, so that we know that you are not appointing on the basis of somebody is loyal to you, somebody is from your tribe or ethnic groups or the other. That is how leaders should behave, and not be seen as playing ethnic card. And that is what has become crisis point for Nigerian society. And look, all these things affect work ethic. It affects commitment to your work. When you feel within a system that you cannot get to the top of that system, it will demoralize you, and you will not even own the system. You will not own the commitment you are supposed to give to the country called Nigeria.
All right, Mr. Berra, our time is fast spent, but I want you to comment on the United States Congress. They, through its House Appropriations and Foreign Affairs Committee, they formally delivered a comprehensive report to the White House with recommendations on ending alleged persecution of Christians in Nigeria, following a month of hearings, fact-finding missions, expert testimony, and consultations with religious and community leaders. This report it argues that extremist network they've exploited governance weaknesses, resulting in sustained attacks against Christian communities and urgent security challenges. Now, to what extent do you think the United States backed security cooperation and technical support can help Nigeria dismantle the violent military network? And there are some other, I know, suggestions they also they also made, including security agreements, sanctions, and visa restrictions against perpetrators, public naming and shaming.
I have gone through some of the reports, particularly the critical one that we are dealing with in Nigeria. For example, the issue of secularity of the country or non-secularity of Nigeria was addressed. There was suggestion, maybe it is not informed suggestion, but there was a suggestion that Nigeria should remove Sharia system, that Nigeria should, all those type of things that are in constitution. I think it should guide us. But most importantly, we should know that when we are doing constitutional review, the first thing is not even a constitutional review that we are doing now. Nigeria is having a lot of structural defects. First of all, we should agree whether we want to live together or not. Because how long are we going to continue like this? What was discussed in La Hestia in 1958 is what we are still discussing today. What was discussed in 1978 Constituent Assembly is what we discussed in 2014 under Jonathan's National Conference. It's what we are still talking about today. We are not making headway because we are not a determined people. We should determine whether we want to be a secular state or non-secular state. Our constitution is saying that the same constitution that says that Nigeria is a secular state and everybody should be free to practice his religion is given vent equally to Sharia law. Is that not a recipe for anarchy? If we want to practice Sharia law, let everybody agree if we want to practice it. If we want to practice Judaism law, let us agree. Judaism law, let us agree that we want. That is what we want to. If we want to exist as a nation, let us exist as a nation. If we want to become a nation of religion, even without character, let us remain so. The more religion we have, the more anarchy, the more crisis, the more misunderstanding, the more killing, even in the name of the same God. How long are we going to continue? So we have a constitution that is characteristically anarchical, constitution that is not guaranteeing the so-called right. Look, Nigeria has no fundamental rights if we have a constitution that cannot give effect to its chapter 2. Chapter 2 tell us the responsibility of government to protect, to provide education, to provide public health, and that same constitution subjected everything he has highlighted to injustibility. That is, they are not justiciable. If they are not justiciable, we should exploit them, and we know that we don't have right in the country, and that we don't deceive ourselves by putting them in our chapter 2. And you continue under chapter 4 to grant right to life. If somebody has no access to a good health, no health care, no food, no protection, no employment opportunity or equal access to employment, what is the meaning of right to life? Have you not taken it away? When you don't have think that you have responsibility to people. And Nigeria in our constitution today, because constitution is a living document, and if it's a living document, I want to ensure that country protect us. It should be in our constitution, given the emerging dynamics of the country today, that every Nigeria kill illegally, extrajudicially, the government should pay nothing less than 100 million to the account of that family, because it is the government's right, duty, failure in duty to protect that caused the death of such person. Maybe we will continue to get sense. If anybody should kill other Nigeria, his property that he has ever worked for should be taken away from him to fund the education of the victims of his reckless killing, in addition to jail time and every other thing. Maybe we will begin to get sense at that level. But people die and nobody take responsibility, no accountability. I just spoke of within 1 week, 100 Nigerians are killed. Nobody is even talking of them. Are we not all living dead in such society? So those are the problem we should address, and not wait even for the report of the United States to guide us in doing this. Nigerian problems needs internal solution, and no external person can understand or solve that problem except we are determined. Even if you like, if they bring into force what the report is saying, people will still go against them, and some people, because our law is many people are taller than Nigerian law, and we say the principle of law, the principle of rule of law is that we are all equal before law. But are we equal? Few people are taller than Nigerian law, and our law and constitution means nothing to them. That's why they kill and get away with it. They are talking of anarchy. That's why everybody bear responsibility and accountability.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Guerrero, for joining us this morning.
It's a pleasure being with you. Thank you.
Yes, and this is where we have to draw the curtain today. My name is Damlola Ogunshakin. Do want to like and follow us on all our social media platforms showing on your screen. You can also visit our website, www.vanguard.ng.